Hey guys, Level Cap here, and welcome to This Week in Gaming, your weekly news update on everything going on in the world of video games. And it has been a controversial week for Battlefield 6 due to alleged AI-generated cosmetic items. Star Citizen single player hit a major milestone and is doubling down on a 2026 release date. The Halo remake might not be a one-and-done project, and much more. Battlefield 6 is being criticized for its apparent use of AI artwork for a recently added cosmetic item. This sticker is part of the Winter Offensive cosmetic unlocks, and players say it looks like it was AI generated. The weapon features two barrels and repeating dust covers, implying it wasn't made by a person who would notice these obvious types of issues. EA has taken a pretty bold stance regarding AI-generated content. Prior to Battlefield 6's reveal, they released a video featuring AI game creation tools that could create maps and game modes based on text prompts. The GM of DICE, Rebecca Kutaz, has also previously said that generative AI is used in the production stage of development, but that no AI-generated content would appear in Battlefield 6. Since this story initially broke, players have also discovered a handful of other weapons and player card stickers that could be AI generated too. EA haven't released a statement to address these concerns, and the game hasn't been updated to remove the suspect items yet. Given that it's a major international holiday, that is not too surprising. That said, this is just a small part of a broader story about the industry's use of AI as a whole. Over the past few weeks, we've seen developing stories about studios like Larian Games, Embark, and others using AI at varying stages of development and degrees. In Larian's case, their CEO said that the company lets employees use AI for working on concepts and PowerPoints. As for Embark, they use it to generate voice lines based on performances by human voice actors. But this week, Sandfall's use of AI in Clear Obscure Expedition 33 was also brought up again, because the game was actually disqualified from the Indie Game Awards due to its use of AI. The studio infamously included AI-generated textures at launch, which were subsequently patched out. However, with this renewed criticism of AI making waves across the industry, Sandfall issued a new statement saying that while they explored AI generation of content during development, they didn't like it and that it felt wrong. They used it to generate missing textures and accidentally included some of these placeholders in the launch build of the game. They emphasized that everything in the game is human-made, and it's really unclear what the future holds for AI-generated content in games. For the here and now, its impact is perceived as mostly negative, but there seems to be zero translation between the public perception of AI use in games and the actual sales. So it's hard to know if some of the online backlash against using AI in games is actually going to be a deterrent from studios using it if they're still seeing fantastic sales. In other EA news, the company's shareholders have voted in the proposed buyout of the company by Saudi Arabia. That country is using their public investment fund to purchase EA for $55 billion. This deal will take the company private, paying out shareholders with a 25% premium of the $210 per share price. It'll also saddle EA with $20 billion of debt. Industry analysts say this move is a massive risk for EA, whose only safety net if they aren't able to deal with their massive debt is essentially the Saudi government. This deal could ultimately lead to EA being broken up and sold off to recoup the investment. Star Citizen's single-player game Squadron 42 has apparently hit a major milestone on its road to a 2026 launch. According to Cloud Imperium Games CEO Chris Roberts, the game is fully playable from start to finish, featuring over 40 hours of content. In 2024, the studio conducted a live playthrough of the game's opening level. It was essentially our first look ever at actual gameplay from Squadron 42, as most prior trailers were either concept art or sort of pre-scripted cinematics. At the end of the presentation, they announced a 2026 launch date. With the game now fully playable and heading towards a beta phase, Roberts says that when the game is ready to launch, it won't be a long drawn-out marketing campaign. The remaining development time will be used to further polish and optimize the game. And while CIG is notorious for missing deadlines over and over again, it sounds like they might actually be on track to release Squadron 42 at some point, potentially even next year. Cyberpunk 2077's Ultimate Edition and The Witcher 3 Complete Edition on Switch 2 were accidentally set to 75% off just before Christmas. The pricing error was quickly corrected, but CD Projekt Red says that they're honoring any purchases made while the incorrect pricing was listed. So if you manage to snag those games on the crazy discount for your Switch 2, you won't be getting any forced refund. The upcoming Unreal Engine 5 remake of the original Halo campaign might not be a one-off. A Halo leaker says that Halo 2 and 3 are in line for remakes as well. It's unclear if Halo Studios has firmly committed to the remakings or simply wants to remake them though, as the leaker is adhering to an NDA that prohibits them from clarifying. That said, I think we could pretty much assume that if the Halo 1 campaign remake is a success, then they're gonna do the follow-ups. The Unreal remake of Halo 1 is due to release in 2026. Valve have discontinued the 256GB LCD version of the Steam Deck, which was the only non-OLED model that they still offered. Valve released an upgraded OLED model with a better screen and some minor internal tweaks in late 2023. Discontinuing the LCD model effectively raises the minimum price of a Steam Deck to $549, up from $399. NVIDIA's game streaming service GeForce Now is getting hit with a major bottleneck. Starting on January 1st, users will be limited to 100 hours of playtime per month. Users that want to continue playing beyond that have to pay $3 for 15-hour blocks of time. That's just for users on the cheaper performance plan, which is a $10 a month plan. For users on the $20 a month ultimate plan, the additional time blocks will be $6. The good news is, if you don't hit the monthly cap, the unused hours will be rolled into your next month's allotment. PC parts and peripheral manufacturers like ASUS might be getting into the memory business. A rumor about ASUS buying a memory fabrication factory was doing the rounds this week. RAM, aka random access memory, shortages are severely impacting the electronics industry right now due to major corporations like Google, Meta, and OpenAI building gigantic data centers to host and expand their AI products and services. They're offering premium dollar for that RAM and gobbling up the world's supply. These shortages are expected to last well into 2027, and while the direct impact is going to be felt by most consumers, companies like ASUS, who also make GPUs and other devices that use RAM, are also feeling a crunch since they typically purchase memory from other vendors. ASUS opening up their own manufacturing for memory could potentially help them offset the shortages by letting them make however much memory that they need for their own products. But opening factories to make these sorts of components can take years and millions, if not billions of dollars, plus they will also be competing for the raw materials to make this memory, which will be going to the highest bidder. In our final story of the week, sadly, we are saying goodbye to the legendary Call of Duty co-creator Vince Zampella. He passed away suddenly earlier this week in a car crash at the age of 55. He was well known and liked across the industry, and while he might not have been a household name for the average gamer, pretty much anyone who played an FPS title in the last 20 years has played something that Vince has worked on or has been inspired by a Vince Zampella game. His credits include co-creating Call of Duty, but he also worked on Medal of Honor, Titanfall 1 and 2, Apex Legends, the Star Wars Jedi series, and most recently he was put in charge of the Battlefield franchise by EA and effectively helped save the franchise with Battlefield 6. The game industry simply wouldn't be what it is today if Vince hadn't been part of it. He is survived by 3 children and a legacy of games that may be some of the most impactful in gaming history. And that wraps it up for today's episode of This Week in Gaming. It also wraps up this year of This Week in Gaming. I hope you guys have enjoyed the news coverage throughout the year. We have tried to be as consistent as possible, giving you the most important gaming news every Friday to keep you up to date on what's going on in our industry. It's been a pleasure doing this show for you guys throughout the year. I hope you've enjoyed. Check out some of the links to other videos here. And otherwise, you can expect the next episode of This Week in Gaming in 2026. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.